Comrades, as our President mentioned here, during this period, we lost so many dear ones, many personalities in the public. So we are going through a very tough situation, new normal situation. So after 4 years, the number of the departed persons from our side, that is a little bit more. I am not going to read all the names. I can just go through some names. First, our comrade D. Shavanan. As you all know, he was our very vibrant leader in Tamil Nadu. So in between, he affected with motor neuron disease, and he passed away in 2020 recently. So we named our conference venue also his name, Comrade D. Shavanan, and Comrade Gajanan Narayan Sadhavar, who was also our executive committee member. He left us during this period. Our former executive committee member, Comrade Sanjay Kumar, who succumbed to COVID-19 pandemic, and we lost him. And great loss in the trade union movement, Comrade Gurudas Das Gupta. He was the former MP, and he was the General Secretary of ADUC. And we lost a great leader of trade union. He was a very close friend of AABA and division of AABA. We missed his presence during this period. And Comrade KJ Joseph, our very beloved Uncle Joe, former AABA Assistant Secretary. He was very active in his 90s. He was aged 98, and he also left us during this period. We all know our great leader, Comrade Ajay Manjrekar, was the Joint Secretary of AABA, General Secretary of Canara Bank Employees Union, and General Secretary of KPBF. He also left us. And other personalities, our President of India, former President Pranab Kumar Mukherjee, our former former Indian Prime Minister A.B. Vajpayee, Somnath Chatterjee, our former Minister External Affairs Arun Jaitley, former Finance Minister Ramvilas Paswan, former Railway Minister, and some other great personalities in between. We left them, and the comrades of AABA, the great leader Dayal Das Khanna, who was the former General Secretary of AABA, and T.M. Matthews, founder General Secretary of All India Central Bank of India Employees Union Kerala, and the founder President of AABA, N. Krishnan, former AKBF Vice President, AABA GC member, C. Gopinathan Nair, former General Secretary, SPG Employees Union, and Vice President, AKBF, Telesboy Anthony, former Assistant Secretary of AKBF, P.L. Shayal, one of our founding leaders of AABA, P.N. Tiwari, former AABA Vice President, N.K. Gaur, former Secretary and Vice President AABA, Biman Thakur, former AABA CC member and General Secretary of Tripura Provincial Bank Employees Association, Shyam Sundar, former President of State Bank of Hyderabad Staff Association, M.S. Dawood, former President of DNBF, L.N. Mukhe, former CC member of AABA, and other so many comrades, and AABA leaders also, Gunashekaran, AABOA Treasurer, Nagendra Pillai, former General Secretary of AABOA Unit in Federal Bank, KD Bandari, former leader of AABOA. Other leaders in the trade union movement, VK Kamath, former Assistant Secretary, AK BRF, and Subhash Sawant, INVEF General Secretary, A.V. Nache, was a long-time General Secretary of LIC Employees Federation, M.O. Matthew, M.O. Founder President of AABOA, and other personalities in the cultural and the sports field. Lata Mangeshkar, a very playback singer, Nightingale of India, and S.P. Balasubramanian, very noted singer, Girish Karnad, veteran playwright and actor, and our colleagues and members who succumbed to COVID-19 pandemic, that we are mentioning their name separately in the report also. Comrade Raju Shah Bahadur Sona, Mumbai Dadar, Comrade Rajesh Kumar Jamshedpur, Comrade J. Kumar VP, Thiruvananthapuram State Statue, Comrade Priyanka Shah, Bhavanagar, Comrade Appala Raju, Gajwaka, Comrade Shashikant Ramalin Pothara, Belgaum Tilakwadi, Comrade Badal Kumar The, Jamshedpur Golmuri, Sri Subramanian, yes sir.
Before us, our former presidents, Comrade K.S. Rao, Comrade Rajan, and my dear delegates and observers who have assembled here on this 29th Conference of Federal Bank Employees Union being held today. Comrades, after 4 years gap, we are assembling in this august body. You know already our conference got delayed by 1 year due to this pandemic situations. We are looking for the appropriate time to hold this sort of conference. However, we could announce in a hurry the physical type of conference like this. So it is a very peculiar situation. You can say there is the pandemics, there is the economic disasters, there is the war. So in all these situations, we have assembled here to discuss our future challenges in the Federal Bank, the challenges in the banking industry. We have assembled here to discuss what are the issues and agendas, our tasks for the future. Everything we will be discussing in this conference. But I would like to remind you that it is not a very it is a very serious situation and challenging has been thrust upon us, especially in our country. The working class is passing through a very critical situations when lakhs and lakhs of crores of workers are losing their job. Lakhs and crores of educated unemployed youths are on the streets looking for a job. GDP growth is actually negative. And in this situation, we are here to discuss. You know very well that the industry situation, I am not going to deal all those things because we have the eminent speakers, inaugurators from the Tulja. But I will focus on the issues, especially in the bank, because we have here a lot of young comrades, those who have to remain in this banking sector for another 20, 25 years, 30, 35 years. And according to me, it is a very, very challenging situation which we people, those who have retired or are going to retire within a very short span, we have never faced. Very challenging situations for the young comrades, and especially I will address it for them, that there is the direct attack on the existence of our permanent employees in the bank, which you have to discuss in this august body. May not be in Federal Bank immediately. We are facing that sort of direct attack. But there is the indications. Already in Kerala-based Catholic Syrian Bank, CSB, you know what is the situation. Their management has already denied to extend the 11th bipartite settlement to their employees. There was the Lakshmi Vilas Bank, which was all of a sudden taken over by DCD in India, and there is no existence of bipartite settlement for those employees of the erstwhile Lakshmi Vilas Bank. Recently, there is a small bank in India, that is Sonali Bank. You might not have heard of it. That is a bank from Bangladesh. And they have only two branches in India. One is in Calcutta, another is in Shiliguri. And hardly 14 or 15 award staff is there. There also, there is the attack on the existence of those permanent award staff. And it started with the management's demand to stop the
settlement in that bank, because Sonali Bank is also covered by the bipartite settlement. But that their management proposed that this bipartite cannot be extended to Sonali Bank. Again, they proposed to recruit the persons on contractual basis, and highlighting the situations in other new generation banks. They wanted to recruit on contractual basis, and even though it is a very small union in the Sonali Bank, but the leader and the employees of the Sonali Bank, they started to oppose. And when the management in Sonali Bank faced the tough resistance from that small bank union, their general secretary has been dismissed with lame excuses. What I want to emphasize by quoting these two incidents, that we, the employees in Federal Bank, cannot be isolated from this developments in the banking sector. When we are thinking that we are holding the conference with such arrangements and ambience, yes, we can afford. But at the same time, if this is the precedence in the banking sector being set up by this Catholic Syrian Bank and the Sonali Bank, maybe some other small banks are also in the queue to get away from the industry-wise settlements. Do you think the Federal Bank will be isolated? Do you think this Federal Bank management will be continuously recruiting the award staff or the officers on permanent basis? Do you think that this management, which is very much famous for its notorious activities, right from 10-12 years, we have been observing all the initiatives taken by this present management all these years? It is nothing but to see that even in Federal Bank we is also not spared from the actions taken by certain banks, and they may also prefer to keep our Federal Bank out of the industry-wise settlement. Why I am directly raising this issue? Because today and tomorrow, our delegates and observers, they are here to discuss our future tasks, the issues. But again I am telling our young comrades, those who have to work in this bank, those who have to remain in this bank, they think it very seriously. In what way the challenges being thrust upon us, we can confront, we can resist, how we can defend ourselves. Because I remember it was in 1996, AIBA Golden Jubilee Conference was held in Calcutta, when our former General Secretary, Comrade Tarkeshwar Chakravarti, he had given a slogan that time, that was defeat deunionization and defeat privatization. Because our AIBL leadership, they could foresee in 1996 this sort of attacks are going to come, especially after 91-92, when the new economic policy, that policy of liberalization, privatization and globalization was adopted in our country also. Along with that, the banking reforms were there pursued, and as a result of it, prior to 92, there was a different situation in the banking sector. And after that, when it is deregularized, deregulation means more and more licenses, banking licenses were given to new private banks. And as a result of it, the new generation private banks have come into the existence. You know very well that Axis Bank, ICICI Bank, HDFC, all these banks. At the same time, there is the deregulation of interest. So because of this, the banks are facing now a very competitive situations. Prior to 92, it was 97% of the banking share was with the public sector banks. But now, because of the new generation private banks and further expansion of the old generation private banks, now there is the stiff competition among the banking sector. And it is because of this banking sector competitions, what happens in the competitions? That we should understand, especially our new comrades. We should understand what happens in the competition. Competition is not at all good for the working class. You may recollect, our senior comrades know it very well. There was a time prior to 92 when even for getting a telephone connection, we were required to wait for 1 year, 1.5 years. Even for purchasing a two-wheeler, we are required to wait for 1 year, 2 years. But because of the competitions, lot of manufacturers are in the country, in the market. Now it has become the buyer's market. Buyers are deciding the price. And because of that, all the manufacturers, they are struggling to keep the cost at minimum so that they can compete in the market and they can sell their products. And because of these competitions, there is the attempt by all the manufacturers. What is that? The only area where they can reduce the cost, and that is the cost of employees. And because of that, you might have seen, gradually the labor laws have been changed. And presently in the present government, you know there is the total change in the labor laws. And if it is enacted, there won't be existence of any organized sector in India. There won't be any permanent employment. It is all temporary, casual. It is all fixed time employment. And the very purpose of this change in the labor law, to see that the labor market is also liberalized. So far in the banking sector, we are guided by the defined service conditions, regulated service conditions. That defined service condition is being achieved by our beloved All India Bank Employees Association. But now there is the direct attack on the very existence of the industry-wide settlement, and taking the opportunity from the change in the labor laws, all the bank managements or all the manufacturers, employers, they are trying to curtail the labor cost by engaging the contractual basis, by outsourcing the job. The ultimate aim of every manufacturer's, employers or the management is to employ the workers at very low cost. And now, what is the market price of the labor? So far we are guided by the defined service conditions. We have defined pay scale, DA and all these things. But what is the market condition? In the liberalized market, what is the market condition of the labor? Where it is hire and fire. Comrades, I know even in Kotak Mahindra Bank, because the erstwhile Baisha Bank comrades, they used to say us that their erstwhile Vaishya Bank employees in Kotak Bank now, they are getting the bipartite service conditions. But there are the service officers doing the work of minimum 10 to 12 hours. There is no fixed working hours for them. And you know what is their salary? It is only 12,000 per month. Just imagine. Even less than, they are designated officers. They are wearing ties. Good names are given. Executives. But getting only 12,000. There are the new generation private banks. Hardly 15,000, 20,000 rupees. They are hiring officers. And this is the market all the bankers, all the manufacturers and industrial houses they want. So that in this liberalized labor market, they can hire according to their choice. And in a country like India, where crores of educated unemployed youths are coming in the market, this labor market every year, there is no scarcity of labor. And when there is the supply of labor is huge in a market like India, but what is the demand for the job? Demand is very less. So what happens to the condition of the labor? Simple demand and supply. If demand is less, supply is huge, naturally the price of the labor is coming down. And that situation our government wants to introduce, wants to bring by changing the labor laws and taking the advantage of it. All employers are trying to engage contractual, outsourcing, everything casual, fixed term. So comrades, we the employees who are employed in this bank or in the banking sector and guided by the defined service conditions, where everything is regulated, there are other set of banks, new generation banks, where there is no defined service conditions. In fact, there is no service conditions at all. Minimum 10 to 12 hours they have to work with a very less salary. So in this competitive market, what would be the approach of the bankers, management towards us? In fact, they don't want us. We should keep in our mind, they don't want our permanent employees in the banking sector. And that is why there is no recruitment. We have the demand. We are asking for the recruitment. We are demanding to stop the outsourcing. But management intention is ultimately they want to get rid of all sort of private permanent employees and officers. Because officers they can engage, hire at 20,000 rupees. Even in our bank they have engaged in the name of internship at rupees 25,000. In State Bank of India, 15,000 for the clerical job. If the market condition is like that, naturally there will be the pressure on our service conditions. So comrades, it is a presidential speech anyway. All these things will be covered by our General Secretary in his report. But I would just like to draw your attention to the real threat, the real challenge which we have never faced for last 30, 40 years. We are going back to the stage of 1946, 20th April, when this AIBA was formed. In what background? There was no service conditions. People have to work till late night. And because of that situations, exploitations of the bank employees, the comrades of those days, they assembled in the city of Calcutta and they formed this AIBA to fight the onslaught of the management. Comrades, we are going back to that stage again. So there is an appeal to all our, especially our young comrades, for whom it is a very challenging years ahead, to come and unite, fight, and for that you sacrifice. You have to. If you are not sacrificing now, future will not be so secured. So comrades, with this, with an appeal to all of you, please discuss. Don't take this conference very ritually. Discuss the problems, discuss the challenges, discuss about our task and how to improve our union's functioning in a better way and how to prepare ourselves so that any attack by this management, we will be in a position to stop it. We have stopped in 2003 when there was an attempt to take over this federal bank, and then that time chairman had told us it is only because of this federal bank employees union this ICICI bank did not take over this federal bank, because these notorious people are here. Yes, we should be notorious. We should be exemplary before any management, that if you want to attack us, we will attack more. With this, comrades, we hope this conference will evaluate our functioning. It will evaluate the situations and prepare for the future struggle. With this, I am concluding. Inqilab Jindabad.
Comrades, in our delegate section, we do not have a separate welcome speech. We have got many of our important leaders in the audience itself, right from our former president, Comrade K.S. Rao. He was having some ill health issues. He had undergone liver transplantation. Now he is back, hale and hearty. He is here amongst us. We are happy to have him here. Our former president, Comrade M.V. Rajan, is there. Then our AKBF office bearers and our Comrade Ramakrishnan, Vice President of AKBF, Treasurer, P. Jayaprakash, former treasurer sitting nearby, Comrade Nambiar, R.S. Nambiar. Then Comrade M.C. Paul, Vice President, former Vice President of AKBF, Comrade M.M. Ansari, former Vice President. Then Comrade M.A. John, former Assistant Secretary, District Chairman of AKBF, where it is hosted, Comrade P. Rajan. And FBRA, we have got today 5 fraternal delegates are attending. Comrade President Comrade Kumar Menon is there, and like that we have got Comrade Vijay Kumar. He was here. M.S. Vijay Kumar. He is former Secretary of AKBF. So like that we have got. We are very happy to have all of them here amongst us, and you all, our own committee members and other leaders, so many regional committee chairman, secretaries, other office bearers, members, and you all delegates and observers. Because no welcome speaks separately, so I am mentioning and welcoming you all. Thank you.
So, comrades, now I shall request on behalf of Federal Bank Employees Union, Comrade Tuljapurkar, to inaugurate this delegate session of Federal Bank Employees Union. Comrade Tuljapurkar.
beloved President of Federal Bank Employees Union, Comrade Ganguly, your beloved General Secretary, Comrade George Matthew, veteran on the dais and off the dais, Comrade Srinivasan, Comrade Burgis, Comrade Josan, AKBF General Secretary, Comrade Ramchandran, all office bearers and Central Committee members of Federal Bank Employees Union, and fighting comrades of Federal Bank. Salute to you all. While extending greetings on behalf of All India Bank Employees Association, I declare this 29th Conference of Federal Bank Employees Union as inaugurated. Last time you met in 2018 and now you are meeting in 2022. Normally you will be meeting with a gap of about 3 years, but now this gap has gone up by 1 year and you are meeting in 2022. As we all are aware, entire humanity, entire globe, we are passing through a great trauma of corona pandemic. We also were the victims. In those days of crisis, bank employees have shown exemplary courage and conviction in extending banking services to the people at large. There is no match to this. When central government, state government employees were at rest in their house, they were doing work at home. Entire private sector was working from home, but it was the bank employees across the country, right from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, everywhere, bank employees were inviting risk to their lives, risk to the lives of their family, but they were extending services. And around 2,000 and odd bank employees have lost their lives during the corona. But we have shown an exemplary courage and we have proved our utility to the society. For that, I salute entire bank employees and fighting comrades of Federal Bank too. 2018 to 2022, much water has flowed. As we all are aware, in 2017, number of public sector bank was 27. And now in 2022, number of public sector bank has gone down to 12. More than 15 public sector banks have lost their existence, mainly due to misdirected policy of government of merger of public sector banks. Initially, associate banks were merged in State Bank of India, followed by it, Vijay and Dena Bank was merged in Bank of Baroda, and one mega merger in the name of Atmanirbhar Bharat during the course of pandemic took place, whereby 10 public sector banks were consolidated. In the process, we have lost the banks which were erected by generations with their sacrifices, sufferings and toil. Bank like Travancore, State Bank of Travancore, bank like State Bank of Hyderabad, bank like State Bank of Mysore. What was wrong with those banks? Now, leave apart the employees, but the customers of State Bank of Travancore are repenting with this merger. For what merger was done? Who had demanded the merger? Neither the bank employees and officers demanded the merger, nor the bank customers demanded the merger, nor the shareholders of those banks demanded the merger. Merger was driven by government to subserve the interest of public to the of big corporate. Those corporates who have duped the public sector banks for not only 1,000 crores but lakhs of crores rupees have been looted from those public sector banks. We were opposed to merger, but government bulldozed the policy of merger. And now what scenario has emerged? Ultimately, you go through the profile of banks after consequent upon the merger, you will know that more than 5,000 bank branches of public sector banks have been closed. And this is the period during which more than 7,000 bank branches of private sectors have been opened. In the state of Kerala, around 199 branches of public sector banks have been closed. And during the period, more than 380 branches of private sector banks have been opened in Kerala, the state like Kerala. It's clear that the intention of government was to create the space for private sector banks and in the process to kill the public sector bank. That is a misdirected policy of government to which we opposed, but we could not succeed. But that has taught us a lesson as to where we have failed. We need to introspect. Now we are fighting against the policy of privatization. As we all know, initially government has declared in their last year's budget speech that IDBI and two public sector banks will be privatized in the year 21-22. Government could not do it for various reasons. But now government is firm, committed, and is pursuing its agenda of privatization of public sector banks, to which as an All India Bank Employees Association we are opposed. Not because our future will be insecure, not because we are afraid of private sector bank managements, but because privatization of public sector bank is not in the interest of common man. That is not in the interest of nation. And thus we say that we are opposed to privatization of public sector banks. And now we have to learn the lesson from the past, that while pursuing the agenda of opposition to privatization, we need to take our customers along with us. Without the support of customers, we won't be able to defeat the government's misdirected policy of privatization. And for that, we need to relate to our customers. We need to involve and associate our customers in our struggle. And that's a very challenging task which in the days to come, as an organization, AIBA will have to address. This is one part. Then, where the banking is going on, all you may be aware that lot of changes are taking place in the banking scenario. One was merger and consolidation. Another was privatization of public sector banks. But in the business model itself, lot of changes are taking place. You might have gone through the Reserve Bank of India's recent circular on digital branches. In the year 2022 and 23, government proposes to open 75 digital branches of banks, whereby there won't be a single employee, there won't be a counter, there won't be an officer, simply technology will be there. Reserve Bank of India has issued operative guidelines. Those operative guidelines are which business can be addressed by the technology. So, in the process of bringing out those 75 branches, government wants to set an example before the society that without manual intervention, banking can be carried out. It's for public sector bank and along with that, private sector bank. So, they don't want manual intervention in the process of banking. We all are aware, more than 1,000 apps are there in market, which are extending credit to the people at large. And people are availing that credit through those apps. So there is no need of bank branch. Those apps will cater to your services. That is another challenge which we will have to face. In one of the symposium, the then RBI governor, he shared his view that there will be a bank, there will be a banking, but there won't be a branch. They are envisaging a banking whereby there will be no branch of a bank. In that changed scenario, how we intend to be relevant to the banking? That is the million-dollar question which entire bank employees will have to face. If there is no bank or a branch, where the employee will be there? Where the question of organization comes. So we need to understand the changes which are taking place in the business model of banking, the model which is being evolved. We need to study and address the questions which are likely to come up in the process. But does it mean that the banking or bank branches will be irrelevant? Today, on the one count, each bank management goes on arguing that after technology there is no need of manual intervention. But what we are witnessing at the counter, footfall has increased drastically. The government has imposed the schemes on bank. Initially, we opened Janadhan scheme. We have opened zero balance account, not 1, 2, 3, but more than 45 crore accounts have been opened by the banks. Nobody could imagine that such a number of accounts were opened. But Prime Minister, while addressing in Madison Square, in US, UK, Australia, everywhere, he will claim that Janadhan is the product of this government, and he claims as if that he has opened those accounts. If at all the success of Janadhan scheme, entire credit goes to bank employees in the country, ranging around 6 lakhs and odd bank employees. At the counter, they have opened the accounts. Janadhan, followed by that, we linked it with Aadhaar. Then followed by that, we introduced Mudra loan scheme. Then Jeevan Jyoti Suraksha Yojana, n number of insurance schemes. Followed by it, Atal pension scheme. All those government initiatives have been implemented through banks. During the period of pandemic, banks have implemented all government initiatives. Whether it's assistance given to farmers or assistance given to MSME or SSI, everywhere, bank was inevitable as a middleman. So it is the banking or bank whereby we have shouldered the responsibility of government, and resultantly, we are finding that there is a huge footfall in the branches. We are not able to cope up with the increase in business. We need manpower for that. So, one of the important issue on which in the days to come, All India Bank Employees Association will come out with some organizational position is recruitment in banks, and that is one of the prime tasks as an organization. We will have to address it. But while addressing that task, we need to take our customer into confidence. We need to explain them. Customer has got a feeling that bank employees very often they are resorting to the strike, and that strike is mainly for their wage rise. No. During last 30 years, more than 50 strikes have been organized by All India Bank Employees Association, mainly opposing the new economic policy or the new banking policy. We were on strike. We sacrificed our salaries, wages, but people are not aware that we have sacrificed our wages. We need to explain to them that the role which bank employees are playing. Just below this dais, there is one slogan: Bank Bachao, Desh Bachao. This is the slogan, a rallying point for the bank employees movement, on which we need to educate our customers, involve them, associate them, take them along with us, and fight against all misdirected policies which are against the common man. This is one important task which we will have to undertake. Then we need to expose the model which government is propagating. Government on the one count is propagating for privatization of public sector bank. But you just see 2018 and 2022. What has happened in case of private sector banking? Yes Bank, it was collapsed. Government asked State Bank of India to bail out Yes Bank. Then we have witnessed that during the period, Bandhan Bank, which had to book the losses for consecutive 2 quarters, we have witnessed that RBL Bank with the headquarters at Kolhapur, it had booked the losses for consecutively for 2 quarters. 4 small finance bank, they have gone into losses. So it's not that in private sector banking everything is cozy and comfortable. Private sector banks are confronting or conflicting with the situation, and we need to expose the government's policy that whenever bank goes into losses, they will nationalize. And once the bank comes into profit, they will go in for a privatization of profit-making public sector banks. So it's a nationalization of losses and privatization of profits. This needs to be explained to the people at large. Why banks were in losses? Not because employees were inefficient, not because employees were not rendering the customer service to the people at large, mainly because of non-performing assets and provision on account of non-performing asset that banks went into losses. We know that since last 8 to 10 years, we have been carrying out a campaign with the slogan, people's money for people's welfare and not for corporate loot. Why? Because in 2016, with the initiative of the then Reserve Bank of India Governor Raghuram Rajan, asset quality inspection was carried out, and it was revealed that more than 6 lakh crores of NPA were suppressed in the name of corporate debt restructuring. All those NPAs came on surface. Immediately, individual banks had to provide for those NPAs, and resultantly, bank went into losses in 2017, 2018, 2020, 19 and 2020. Since 2021, it was a turnaround phase through which banks were passing through. But why those banks went into losses? Why government was required to infuse 4 lakh crore capital by providing it in the budget, out of the taxpayers' money? Why it was required? Mainly because corporates have looted the bank. We know Mallya, he flew from India to UK, Nirav Modi, so on and so forth. Many of our big corporate borrowers, they have deserted the country, they have shifted from this country, they have taken the citizenship of various countries. This is one phenomena. Secondly, we know Videocon, 95% sacrifice with the recovery of 5%. Government initiality is the same. Arun Jaitley, he used to say that you see, once the Insolvency Act is passed, it will act as a magic. All the corporates will come forward, they will in a queue and they will deposit the money. Ultimately, what happened? In first 12 accounts, 2.50 lakh was to be recovered from those corporates. Half of the money banks could not recover. Around 45% money was recovered with the sacrifice of 55% money. In some of the accounts, banks have sacrificed 80%, 90%. In some of the accounts, 95% money has been sacrificed in the name of haircut. Debt Recovery Tribunal, what has happened recently in Parliament, while replying one of the question of one of the parliamentarian, he raised the question about Debt Recovery Tribunal. Government shared the information that more than 1 lakh Debt Recovery Tribunal cases are pending. More than 1 lakh. In the very city of Ernakulam, there are 2 debt recovery tribunals, Tribunal 1 and Tribunal 2. More than 3,200 cases are pending in Ernakulam Debt Recovery Tribunal. So, the government, whatever steps they have initiated, whether it's a Debt Recovery Tribunal, SURFACE Act and followed by it now Insolvency Act, ultimately government is not able to recover the money out from those corporate. And that is the crux of the issue. Corporates have looted the banks and now government is handing over the banks to the same corporate. We know that now who will purchase the banks? Ultimately, those are the corporates which will purchase the bank. And those corporates who have duped the money, they want to become owner of the banks. And precisely this is the issue on which we will be confronting with the government. We have raised our voice, but now our alone voice is not sufficient. The voice of bank employees ultimately should be supplemented with the voice of customers at large or people at large. We have witnessed that farmers, they have raised a formidable challenge to the government. Ultimately, the Prime Minister like Modi had to bend down. He surrendered before the parliament, before the farmers, and he had to withdraw the farm laws. The same conviction needs to be shown by the bank employees. With the same determination, we will have to continue fight against bank privatization. Then and then only, bank employees will succeed in throttling all those attacks which are being sponsored by the bankers and government together. This is a great challenge before the bank employees movement. In the days to come, as an organization, we will have to conduct study camps. We will have to conduct orientation courses for our employees. Alone slogan mongering, fight and win, or right path, AIBA right path, or AIBA Jindabad. Alone those slogans are not going to help us to carry forward those struggle. To carry forward those struggle, we need to have a dedicated army. We need to have an army which is prepared to sacrifice. We need to have an army which is committed to the cause. And the cause which needs to be explained to the people at large or the employees at large. And one thing is good, that whatever 2-day strike we have organized on 28 and 29, in the entire country, bank employees' participation was exemplary participation. They have shown that still bank employees have a strength, still bank employees have a vigor, bank employees have a determination, which we have demonstrated in 28th and 29th strike. So, on 28-29 strike, some of the organizations participated in those strikes. Some of the organizations, they said that it's a political strike. It's a the strike had a political orientation. What strike was demanding? Strike was demanding that the employees, new employees should be extended pension scheme, old pension scheme. What is politics in that? Now recently you must have witnessed that the return on investment under new pension scheme in 2019 and 2022 it was negative. 22-23 in first month it was negative by 23%. If the things go like this, or we are witnessing what is happening in Sri Lanka, if tomorrow it happens in India, what will be the future of new pension scheme? People won't get the security. People won't get the assurance in their post-retirement life. So, bank employees movement will have to fight against the new pension scheme. That is one of the prime tasks before the movement. And this fight will have to be continued by the new generation employees who will be retiring after 20 years, 30 years. If they feel that their future needs to be secured, if they feel that their post-retirement life should be secured, then we will have to raise the fight against new pension scheme. What is politics in it? Secondly, we are demanding that outsourcing and contractual employment should be abolished. And government should go in for recruitment. What is politics in it? We are witnessing that more than 6 lakh banking correspondents are working in India. In various banks, more than 6 lakh banking correspondents who are getting hardly 5,000 or 10,000 money to survive. They are being replaced to the regular bank employees. So we will have to conduct a organizational task whereby all those banking correspondents, they should be assimilated in the banks by recruitment. That is another task. We know the way in which bankers are outsourcing the jobs. Initially, they outsourced the security guards on the ATM. Then ATM cash replenishment was outsourced. Then followed by it, now cash van and security guard, that is also outsourced. Followed by it, now in bank branches, service branch function is being outsourced. Recovery job is being outsourced. Outsourcing is being done on a large scale in the banking. So we will have to fight against the outsourcing. We will have to fight against the contractual employment. We will have to fight for assimilating all those banking correspondents in the banking. Number of bank employees is now around 9 lakh. But equal number of bank employees are there in the outsourced or contractual structure. All of those outsourced and contractual employees, they need to be assimilated in the banking sector. For that, we'll have to fight for recruitment in the banking. That is one of the important organizational tasks which we need to address in the days to come. The tasks are quite complicated. They are not so easy that by observing a day's strike or 2-day strike or 3-day strike, we can address those tasks. Now, we are opposed to IR bill, that is all the labor code which government has approved. We know what is the intention or motive in approving those labor codes. Labor codes are approved to de-unionize the employees. Now, by resorting to Industrial Dispute Act, we are pursuing the issue of regularization of jobs of temporary employees. But that won't be available hereafter. They are going in for fixed term employment, which it means you will be recruited for 2 years, 3 years or 5 years. Then subsequently they'll say goodbye to you. Then you don't have a future after that. So we will have to fight against the labor code bill, which act they have constituted. Because if they go through, ultimately it will result into de-unionization of the employees at a large. We should understand that union and its strength alone, which has secured my future. Just 3 days back, we celebrated 77th Foundation Day of our beloved organization, All India Bank Employees Association. 75 years we could not celebrate due to pandemic. So this year, while celebrating this 77th year, there was a lot of enthusiasm with the bank employees in celebrating this 77th Foundation Day. What AIBA has taught us? What is the ideology of AIBA? While new generation taking over the reins of bank employees movement or AIBA, they need to understand the philosophy of AIBA, philosophy and ideology of AIBA. It's not easy task in the country like India to continue to have its existence with the same prestige and honor for 77 years. We have been witnessing the way in which society is getting divided on a language issue, on a religion issue, on a caste issue, on so and so forth. But it's All India Bank Employees Association which has evolved a culture by keeping aside our caste, creed, language, gender. We are united. We are united on only one common agenda, that is bank employee and his future. That is our commonality. So as an organization, All India Bank Employees Association, we need to continue to have the unity amongst the bank employees. But the society, we are witnessing sometime somewhere that Sabrimala issue will come, then Rama Janmabhoomi, that issue will come, then Maharashtra, that Maharati or the issues like that, those will crop in. So in the name of religion, in the name of caste, in the name of language, divide is taking place in the society. All India Bank Employees Association teaches us that we need to keep away all those differences and come together as an identity of bank employees. With this, we should march ahead. That is one, All India Bank Employees Association. Secondly, when we involved and associated in the strike of 28 and 29, the issues were our issues. But along with that, we were fighting for the cause of working class. We feel that we are part and parcel of working class. And whenever working class will come on the streets and agitate for their demands, we should try to relate ourselves with those demands. And thus, AIBA took a stand that whosoever comes with us or not, if they doesn't come, alone AIBA will pursue the cause of working class, and we joined the strike of 28 and 29. We are proud. We are proud that we are part and parcel of working class movement, because whatever today we got, it's the ultimately product of general working class movement. We are getting DA, dearness allowance. It is the textile workers from the history in the city of Bombay who fought for the dearness allowance for the first time. Thus, we are enjoying the fruits of dearness allowance scheme. Job security or protection in job, all my service conditions, they are the product of general working class movement. So we need to relate with the general working class movement, and we continue to be with them. This is our ideology which needs to be pursued in the days to come. Thirdly, the industry where we are working, we need to be cautious. It reminds me that in the very city of Cochin, AIBA gave a slogan that banking should be a fundamental right of the people at large. I feel that somewhere we need to revive that slogan, and again we have to reach to the common man with a slogan that banking should be a fundamental right, and this is the AIBA stand. Janadhan came much after that, but before that, It was AIB, a visionary organization, which gave the slogan of banking as a fundamental right. So we need to be watchful about the developments which are taking place in the banking industry. What we are witnessing today, that out of 100 rupee which I am collecting, in lending, more than 55 rupees is being lent to the corporate. And from amongst those 55 rupees, 85% of money is becoming NPA. Who is looting the money? That is being looted by the corporate. So we need to give a slogan that democratization of banking should take place. Today what it happens? A common man in each bank, we celebrate CASA campaign, CASA mobilization campaign. Why we are celebrating it? Because we will get the money at a cheaper rate. 2.75 is the average rate of interest on CASA deposit, saving deposit, but the effective rate is much lesser than that. If you compare to inflation, our rate of interest on deposit is negative. And we are, the common man, he is keeping the money in bank. And that money is being given in the form of credit to the corporate. But when common man comes on the counter and asks for a loan, what is cost of credit? We say that minimum lending rate plus 2%. Minimum lending rate plus 3%. But corporate, if you ask for 500 or 5,000 crore, we are lending him at a minimum lending rate. That is 6.57% or 7.5%. So the person who saves the money, who owns the funds of the bank, will be lent at a higher rate. But the person who dupes the bank or loots the bank, he is being lent at a cheaper rate, knowingly full well that ultimately tomorrow he will be looting the money of the bank. Somewhere, democratization of banking should be the slogan of bank employees movement. The person who keeps the money has got every right to control the direction of the money in which it will be lent. Somewhere on banking we need to be cautious. As I earlier told to you, you must have seen that RBL Bank, which was a typical orthodox bank with a headquarters at Kolhapur. They shifted their headquarters from Kolhapur to Mumbai. Then some multinational group, they took over that RBL Bank. RBL Bank initially went in heavily for the corporate lending. When they realized that they are stuck up and they are likely to come in problem, they shifted it from corporate lending to NBFC and credit card. But in 1 year, they lost 1,500 crore rupees in credit card business. They were required to provide 1,500 crore rupee on account of credit card default. NBFC, everywhere NBFC during the period of Corona, they have failed. And ultimately that bank went into losses consecutively for 2 quarters. Federal Bank should not become a Yes Bank or should not become a RBL Bank. For that, entire cadre of Federal Bank will have to be cautious and watchful for the movement, the way in which money is being deployed in Federal Bank. That is the role of union. Role of union is not to the extent of transfer, TA bill or LFC bill or hospitalization. Going beyond that, we will have to perform a due role of to be watchful in the banking, the developments which are taking in the bank. That is a historical task which AIB has taught us, that this we should undertake as a mission. And I hope, I am confident that Federal Bank Employees Union also will take due steps and will be cautious in organizing workshops and trade union camps to educate their cadre. It's good that around 70% of the new entrants, they are in our workforce. Now they are new. They were recruited during the period of new economic policy in post 1991. Those who have born after post in 1991 onwards, they have joined the bank. They have been taught lessons in their curriculum how globalization is good, how privatization is good. And now when you join the union, we are teaching you that globalization is not in your interest. We are teaching you that privatization is not in your interest. So, you need to be properly educated, and that organizational task also, as an organization, we will have to undertake in the days to come. last but not least, we need to prepare the cadre. Preparing the cadre, only with the fight it won't be prepared. Along with fight, they need to be educated. Fight, I know that Federal Bank Employees Union has shown an exemplary conduct as far as banking in India is concerned. For a very small issue or a big issue, every time you will go on agitation, you will conduct the struggle, you will organize the strike, sometime regional, sometime all India. You are known for your fighting capacity. But along with the fighting capacity, we need to give the orientation and educate our cadre at a large and prepare them. Prepare them not only to the extent of banking or bank employees movement, going beyond that, what problems are being faced in the society that we also need to understand. As you all are aware, in the very state of Kerala, after your conference, some natural disaster had come, heavy rains and floods. Phenomenal floods were there. That was a red alert for Kerala, that if you try to abuse with the environment, that is prejudicial to the interest of humankind. So, environment is one of the topmost issue on which people at large will have to take the position. Along with that, as an bank employees union, we need to undertake certain other issues to relate to the society at large. Because unless otherwise, we relate to the society, we won't be in a position to march ahead. It's good that in all the states, fighting comrades of Federal Bank Union, they are occupying the positions in their state federation. They are on the forefront in organizing the struggles of state federation. In Maharashtra, Comrade Sumit and all his colleagues of Federal Bank Employees Union, they are involved and associated in the conduct and affairs of the Maharashtra State Bank Employees Federation. Federal Bank Employees Union and their workforce is the biggest asset for All India Bank Employees Association. And precisely with this, I have come to see you all, to salute you, not to give some lesson to you, but to learn the lessons from you, right from your flag hosting and march. After this delegate session, in the evening, your evening session, all that is a education for the cadre of AIBA. So I have come to learn the lessons from you, and you have been on the forefront. Continue to maintain your position in banks, in all your private sector banks, old generation private sector banks. If you go through the profile, biggest bank is Federal Bank. Then if you go through the performance, per employee business, in old generation bank, it is biggest in Federal Bank. Your productivity, your business, on all those fronts, you are ahead. In the movement, you are ahead. And I'm confident the same torchbearer role will be played by the Federal Bank Employees Union and their cadre in the days to come. Last but not least, today is the incorporation day of Federal Bank. Coincidentally, 23rd April, Federal Bank took birth. So I wish all of you on your incorporation day, good for the bank. Bank prospers, then we also will prosper. What should be the direction of bank? We need to be watchful. But ultimately, we have to go hand in hand together, that bank and union. Together we have to undertake the journey. All the best to you. Thank you, comrade.
Comrades, we had a very informative and inspiring speech Comrade Devidas Tuljapurkar gave now. And he especially remarked about our union, which is playing a very, very important role in the AIBA. I thank on behalf of all of you, Comrade Tuljapurkar, for inaugurating and giving a wonderful speech. Our former General Secretary and former office bearer, Vice President of AIBA, Comrade P.N. Joseph, has come. I invite him to come to the dais, please.
So after the inspiring speech by the inaugurator, Comrade Tuljapurkar, it is not only inspiring, rather he dealt in details about the transformation of the banking and what should be our role and in what way we can confront, we can take up. As well as he has dealt so many issues, as he has told rightly that it is not only for discussion, but we have to formulate our task based on these changes presently and in future to come. So it was very encouraging for us. Thank you, Comrade Tuljapurkar. Now, it is a proud privilege for us, Comrade P.N. Joseph, our former General Secretary, who is with us. We welcome him on the dais. Now, Comrade, it is now the General Secretary report to be submitted by our beloved General Secretary, Comrade Matthew George. So, Comrade Matthew George.
Comrades, it is a conference that we are holding now in a very crucial juncture, as you all know, how the banking industry is moving ahead and what all developments are taking place in the country, in the banking industry, the policies adopted by the government. Considering all these backgrounds, we are facing so many challenges. And we have to understand that these challenges which are in the nation and the world, it has got a very much a very implication for us. We cannot take a view. After all, we are in Federal Bank. We will think about Federal Bank in the issues. There is no such an escape because the policies are decided by the government. That has got also in the whole world arena, how the policies are decided in the country, influenced by the developments all over the world. When such policies are decided and how we are becoming victims of such policies, you have an idea about it because we are releasing our circulars, messages, all these things. Now, you may be remembering our last conference that was held in the year 2018 in Kozhikode. There are many comrades who have attended that conference also. Whereas there can be so many young comrades also who joined in the recent periods and attending the conference first time. It may be a first experience of the union at that level. Of course, you will be feeling, all of our comrades will be having that feeling of the union everywhere because we are maintaining constant touch with our members. Though within the all limitations, there are so many limitations, because of the COVID situation, we were not able to conduct the branch visits, physical meetings. So that was getting lost, but at the same time, digitally we were using it in a wonderful manner. And in that conference, then it was a wonderful conference, as you know, in Kozhikode. There only we changed the periodicity to 3 years. Every 2 years, biennial conference we are having. Now we changed it to triennial, and according to that periodicity, we